Hey guys, my name's Nicole. I'm from On Point Mindset Fitness Nutrition, and this is Megan.
Hello. I'm from Southern Cross University. I'm currently doing my PhD in food and mood, and we're here to talk to you today about some questions that people had for us.
Yeah, so we thought we'd do a collaboration on this because we're both very passionate about these areas, myself with nutrition and a fitness background, and Megan looking into the psychological reasons behind all this as well too. So we're going to start today off with sugar cravings, something that I find a lot of people have without even realising. So do you want me to talk about some facts first?
And yeah, that'd be great.
So a lot of the time when I'm dealing with clients, sugar cravings can come from a array of areas, whether it's emotional, whether it's to do with location and environment. What really happens is that we either get a feeling, whether it's an emotion or something that we're trying to suppress. Really, these sugar cravings only go for about 30 seconds or so. So it's about retraining the brain and our actions to do something a little bit different in that time. So what have you come across in your findings of how this goes or how this links to our psychological behaviour around sugar cravings?
Yep, so a lot of the time when we get a sugar craving, it's normally at a certain time of the day or after a certain meal.
Yeah.
So a lot of people I find have a sugar craving kind of after that last meal of the day when they sit back down and are watching television.
Yeah.
And psychologically what really happens to us at this time of the day, especially if we eat our meals in front of the television or looking at our phones or are completely distracted from what we're eating, our brain doesn't psychologically register that we've eaten.
Yeah.
And so we do the dishes, we come back, we sit back down on the couch and we get a craving almost immediately for sugar. And what that is our brain telling us that it doesn't feel like it's actually eaten yet and it's looking for something else.
Yeah.
So I think a big thing with sugar cravings is that when we do eat our meals, that we do it mindfully and we really pay attention to the smells and the tastes and the textures of the food.
Yeah.
And we take away those distracting things like televisions and iPhones.
Yeah, excellent. And I find that too with working with clients that we sort of work towards where about 80% full and everyone sort of goes, oh, I don't really know what that means. But it is something, as Megan said, when we take away from those distractions, that you can be mindful of how you're eating, and then those satiety hormones that we have to say, oh, okay, I'm full, they can sort of click in a lot quicker that way, or we can be a lot more observant of them and sort of ease up when we are full, rather than just, as Megan was talking about, just mindlessly go along eating while we're watching a program, which is really easy to do. And a lot of people after that last meal will sit down and then it's, oh, okay, we're watching such and such, and they're associating that with ice cream. And that's normally where these cravings can happen as well too. Are you driving? What sort of cravings are you having? I'll ask my clients to write down a craving journal as well too, so we can start to pinpoint and associate when we're getting these, what you're craving, whether it's to do with your cycle. It could be to do with location and the people that you're around. You might go to work and there's people in the office and that normally have chocolate. You wouldn't normally have chocolate, but you do when you're at work. Or some people go to the movies and wouldn't normally have a frozen Coke or popcorn ever, but when you go to the movies and you have that smell and, it's all about, family time or whatnot, a lot of the time we associate eating with having that time with people, rather than just thinking, oh, okay, I'd really like to experience, the conversation that we're having or spending time at the movies with, friends. We always seem to think it's associated with food because that's what we're being brought up to do, whether it's, got something to do with birthdays or marriages or unfortunately deaths. Any kind of celebration, it's normally got to do with food or alcohol. So we then start to marry those together that, I go to the movies, I must have this. or I'm spending time with my partner, we go out for coffee and breakfast, where realistically it's just about spending quality time with that person and being a little bit more mindful as to what we're doing in that time. How we beat sugar cravings can be really hard because it normally does mean we're going out of our way or changing our environment to help curb this. So, if you're the kind of person that when you go to the service station, you grab a pie and a Coke, maybe even change the service station that you go to, because they might have it in different areas. So you don't just sort of walk in and go straight to the counter and grab those sort of things. And it might only take a couple of times for you to do this, but it will then start to retrain a new pattern.
Yeah.
What do you...
I think one of the things that I have found is the best way to curb sugar cravings is to have a little bit of protein in every meal.
Yeah.
So breakfast, lunch and dinner always have a protein, and try and eat those more complex carbohydrates like whole grains, legumes, things like that, because they will keep you full and then you won't feel like snacking in between.
Yeah.
So yeah, especially breakfast is a place where people don't tend to eat a protein or they eat something that's a little bit calorie dense, not very nutritious, and then that starts this sugar roller coaster during the day when you have say a sugary cereal, and then you get that sugar high, and then when it comes around to about morning tea, you're having a bit of a low, so you pick yourself back up by having a cake or a biscuit. Up you go again, and then back down at lunchtime. You need something sugary again, up and down till afternoon tea, up and down till dinner, up and down till after dinner snack, and we're hitting ourselves with these sugar spots because our body is craving them because we feel lower than we did prior to that sugary cereal. So a really, really easy way of stopping sugar cravings during the day is to not have that first sugary meal in the morning, to have a breakfast that's got an egg or a piece of chicken or something with a high protein.
Yeah, that's a fantastic way of looking at it, because our body will adjust to anything that we're doing on an ongoing basis. So whether this is something that we're doing that's good, or not necessarily something that we're wanting to continue but don't really know how to get out of it. So as Megan was saying, this sugar roller coaster that we can go on, the more we do it, the more that expands as well too. So the more the higher the highs and the lower the lows, and your body is just wanting energy, and we get energy through food. And the quicker availability of the energy is normally the highly processed, low nutrient type foods, like your chips and your breakfast cereals and things in packets. So we get this dopamine response that is sort of sent out from our brain, and our brain gets highlighted. It's like little firecrackers that go off, and we think, oh, this is such a great feeling and it tastes so good, and our taste buds are going off, but it doesn't stay around for long, and we want to keep that feel-good feeling happening, so we repeat the cycle. So as Megan was saying, heaps of protein, good healthy fats are great, and also too heaps of green leafy vegetables and fruits, because fruits and carbohydrates all still contain sugars, and there's 6 different sugars, but it's not the sucrose that we find in our normal everyday tablespoon that you might put in your cup of tea or anything like that. These are well-rounded, and they do have a place in our diet as well too. So I think that sort of helps people with what sugar cravings are, how we can curb them. I do have a couple of little tests that I do with some clients as well. And this goes to being prepared and not having these sort of highly processed foods in the cupboard, because mostly when we do get these cravings, we don't sort of sit there and go, right, no, I'm all right, I'm going to, mindfully step through this. At the beginning, it's really hard to be able to do so. So if you don't have it in the house, it's a really easy option to go, oh, okay, I might be able to breathe through this, or I'm going to go for a walk, or I'm going to read a couple of pages of my book. Or, you can go, okay, well, if I do feel like something, I'm going to have to make it from scratch. So, you know, that would normally take maybe 15 or 20 minutes to do the ingredients and all that kind of stuff. And if people see that through, then, you know, fantastic. Or you can go and buy it from the shop, but it's got to be a 15-minute drive. So normally people can't be bothered to do that, or when they get to the shop, the craving has lessened, and they don't want it. I find that sort of replacing those cravings with some different steps. And if you are going to have it, if you do crave chocolate or something, make sure it's if you're going to have it, make sure it's good quality. Make sure that you spend the money on it. It's a high quality chocolate that you're having, and you eat slowly and you savor it, because what happens then is that you will normally ingest a lot less, but you won't feel guilty after because you've just inhaled it. You know, if you have 1 or 2 pieces and literally just suck on it, you won't really want any more because, you know, your body's going, okay, that's enough sugar and I'm okay with that now.
And that really goes back to that mindful eating that we were speaking about earlier, and really paying attention to what you eat and paying attention to the textures and the smells and the tastes of something will bring satiety to your body and to your brain in a much better way than if we just eat things and don't taste them.
Yeah. And that's what happens a lot of the time too when we're eating highly processed foods, is because they're low nutrients and they don't have a lot of fibre in them to help keep us fuller for longer. It is just really easy to just keep eating these. And it might only be, you know, 3 or 4 things during the day. And I think that's where people sort of butt their head against the wall when they come to losing weight, is they're like, I don't eat a lot, but I eat cereal. You know, for breakfast, I might have a croissant with ham and cheese for lunch, and I might have, you know, pasta for dinner. And there's no good or bad food. There's just better options. So, you know, they're high calories with low nutrients, and, you know, you're feeling hungry throughout the day. And a lot of people then think, oh my God, if I'm going to have to lose weight, I'm going to feel even hungrier. So, you know, that's not the best option either. So to start to replace some fruit and vegetables and some high quality proteins and some good healthy fats like olives and seeds and nuts, avocado, that's a really great way to start anyway.
And I think one of the things that we don't really understand totally about sugars is that things like white breads in a croissant or in a bread roll or in white cake or white rice, even white pastas, they, once you ingest them, and things like potatoes as well, once you ingest them, they turn instantly into glucose in your body.
Yeah.
So something that's darker, and it's a really easy way, is to eat a bread that's dark or eat brown rice, anything that's darker. It takes a longer time to digest in your body. It takes a longer time to turn into the glucose in your body.
Yeah.
So your body's not storing that glucose. But with the white breads and the white flours and the white rice, it goes into your body instantly, produces energy instantly. The body can't handle the amount of glucose in its system. It stores it as fat.
Yeah.
And that's how it works.
And, you know, if you're someone on training every afternoon and things like that, you know, the white rice and things like, and, you know, pastas, they're all well and good, and to have in certain portion sizes. So it's not like you can't have those sort of things. However, it's best to do, you know, after a high quality training session, because your body needs to then replace the glucose to replace the energy and to make your muscles stronger and repair. And that's when it then leads into, well, you know, am I eating for health or am I eating just to, you know, to lose weight? And there's 2 very different sides there as well too. So eating more nutritious food, high fibre, higher nutrients will also then help to keep you fuller for longer, give you energy, help you sleep better, help your hormones to remain balanced, or as balanced as they can be, and also to just making sure that you can repair a lot better and be able to back up the next day and exercise if that's what you choose to do as well.
Excellent.
We were just going to touch a little bit on menopause. There was a question that came through as well, just in regards to obviously eating well. So menopause, they say, is or happens anywhere from sort of 35 to 45. Your body starts to change a little bit. I was just talking to Megan before, saying that I did some research on it, and it can happen anywhere from your late 20s. but we don't seem to get the symptoms until 35 or 45 or so. So menopause is really when your ovaries start to shut down, okay? And they say that it is 365 days from the day of your last period is when you would normally be into menopause. So when your ovaries aren't working like they used to and they seem to shut down, the estrogen and progesterone are those two. Oh, there's 3 actual hormones, but those 2 are the ones that we normally hear a lot about. So we want to make sure that we're keeping our body as balanced as possible. So we don't want those sugar cravings coming back in and our body fighting against each other, and smoking and drinking and caffeine, and that can have a huge impact as well too. So can the environment that you live in and also our genetics and our background too. So the more that we are sticking with the whole food diet, it'll definitely help to keep you a little bit more saner going through that period, and also to help to not eradicate, but just tone down the irritability and moodiness that can happen if we're having those sugar cravings or we're inviting that highly processed and sugar back into our system again. We don't have to fight that. We can have a little bit more of a calmer approach when we're having whole foods, because our body is metabolizing things and digesting things a lot better, and our body has enough energy to get us through the day.
Yeah, and I think it really comes back to the type of food that is good for all types of conditions, like cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, some forms of cancer, depression, anxiety, menopause, all these things have the same nutrition that is good for them. So it's not like you have to eat certain types of foods for certain types of conditions. So we're finding that it's really, really beneficial to eat less of those processed, refined and sugary foods and eat more things that are fresh out of the ground or running on the land. So things like fresh fruit, vegetables, nuts, seeds, legumes, whole grains. Water is really important. We're finding that omega-3 isn't really, really excellent fatty acids, so oily fish and things like that. And it's a really unfortunate thing that we live in a country with the most coastline of any country in the world, and we actually have one of the lowest rates of consumption of seafood.
Do we really?
Is really
wow.
bizarre. Yeah, we do. And other countries like in the Mediterranean, where they eat lots of oily fish, lots of extra virgin olive oil, things like that, they have much lower rates of cardiovascular disease, much lower rates of type 2 diabetes, depression, anxiety, and they all those types of things. So, and I think you were saying that in European countries they do suffer from menopause a little bit more. Is that right?
Research has shown that that's the case, and it has a lot more to do with irritability and mood and things like that compared to more to Asian countries, where they might suffer more physiological aspects like heart palpitations and whatnot. And the Asian countries do find that the menopause period is a little bit less, and they don't suffer from as many symptoms as the Europeans do. So that's really interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, and another thing about nutrition for these types of things is that the Mediterranean countries with their extra virgin olive oil and their oily fish and their fresh fruit and veg, but also Asian countries have been shown to have less of these symptoms, and they also have really high rates of eating fresh whole foods, but theirs are different. So they eat things like seaweeds and soy and all these other types of things, but they have a lot of fish in their meals as well. So it's
we all adapt, don't we, to our environments.
And it's like not one type of diet is the perfect diet. Everybody's individual and every type of background is individual. But when we look at all these different types of trendy types of diets or dietary patterns that are around, like keto or paleo or veganism, they all have one thing in common, and that's they all kind of eliminate those processed, refined and sugary, commercially made foods. And they're all having these really, really great results for lots of different chronic illness, including autism and ADHD, and it's really exciting. But that's the one thing that I've always seen that they have in common.
And that is really exciting as well too, especially moving through these days that there's quite a lot of of those particular diseases and autoimmune diseases on the rise as well too, and they tend to then piggyback each other. So, osteoarthritis and diabetes and fibromyalgia, all of these things, if you have one, there's a huge percentage that you will then be, piggybacked onto another one as time goes on. So your body will only be able to compensate and put up with so much until it can't anymore. And that's what we're trying to educate, now, and put in some procedures and roadblocks to maybe, deviate you off that path and move you on to a healthier one for the future. Yeah, so I hope we've answered some questions for you today. We'd really love to be able to do more of these. So if you'd like us to talk about some topics next time, let us know underneath. Okay, thanks guys.
Thank
Bye.
you. See ya.